Hello, and welcome to Radiant Spirit, a podcast about living your most authentic life and loving the hell out of yourself. That is what we're here to talk about. And I'm Jennifer Gibbons. Today, you guys, I am so excited to announce I have got my soul brother, Chase Ramsey, with me. And yeah, I say soul brother. And I really wanted Chase to be here with me today and just share this light that he has to offer in the world. And I'm such a fan. If you have listened to this, you guys all know I definitely have a whole episode all about vibing to find your tribe. This this connection I have somehow magically made with Chase is such a perfect example of what that looks like because we literally had no friends in common. We have never met in person. We are not people, either one of us, people I believe that have like a large following or anything that's being passed around or anything, but your reels were coming up on Facebook for me, where I would normally just see friends and family and a handful of people I follow, but you were coming up for me consistently. And it was so true. Whatever you were posting was, I could feel it in my body. Like, yes, this is truth. And I think just commenting and saying, hey, I love what you're sharing. I believe that's how our conversation got started. And then I ended up taking a mediumship workshop with you and getting my Akashic records read by you. Uh, just an incredible human. And I'm so glad you're here, especially because, yes, this is all about being authentic. And that is your vibe, Chase. You are so fucking authentic. That's it.
That's so sweet, Jennifer. Well, I'm just like honestly so grateful to be here. I was a little bit nervous, coming on to talk about some of this stuff because some of it I feel like I'm in a new territory where I'm speaking about some of these topics rather than being in sessions in a meditative state channeling these topics, which I find there's a very different very different energy between being in a meditative state receiving some of this stuff and sitting in front of a camera and having a conversation about it in a grounded way. So thank you for having me on, and I'm looking forward to like we just were talking about a little earlier, where this goes because I feel some good topics are going to be coming up today.
Oh, I totally agree. I love what you were talking about before. I almost feel like right when we connected, I could have just hit record because everything, it's just, this is what it's all about. Just presenting yourself in a heart-centered way and letting those walls drop. And like you were saying, yes, when you're sitting in meditation and you're channeling information, in that moment, this is real. This is what I'm supposed to share. But then to switch that around, take yourself out of that meditative state and present that information to people who, maybe there's a lot of haters out there. There's a lot of trolls. It's fearful to very scary to just put yourself out there and trust that these channeled messages that you are sharing with others are going to be received, even though we both know that we can't control how people receive things or us.
Right,
But
right.
it's terrifying.
And it's like an initiation too. Like, it's sometimes I think we think as a collective, like fear is bad, just push it out the window. But honestly, it's also medicine. It's just medicine, just like any other thing in this world. Um,
Somebody said that. It
yeah,
is. Yeah, and we'd spoken earlier and I love that you are an advocate for this too because there is this whole good vibes only. We don't want any negative vibes, but those negative or perceivably negative vibes are medicine. You can't have the light without the dark. It all goes together.
yeah.
So, yeah.
I feel like too, just to tie back to where we connected to, because I think we wanted to just touch base on that. I feel like we both met each other kind of when we were in. I had moved through a little bit more of the fearful kind of stuff with the hip. You had already accepted you're getting the hip replacement. And that's when we had met at two very interesting points in our lives, trying to not just trying to navigate it, but navigating, a new path for ourselves that was unknown and that did feel, you'd be lying to yourself if you didn't say you didn't feel scared.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's fear, and um, just like what you're going back to, like we had no commonality when we met. And, meeting. They're just like all of these different things. I'm not going to start naming them just because I feel like it's personal, but like so many different things connected. And we're just good reflectors for each other. And I think that's a beautiful thing. But like just like you said, the good vibes only, that's what I want to tie into today a little bit and talk to you about, like just talk about the false ascension matrix and the great awakening, because I feel like that's why a lot of us are here, is ascension, organic ascension. Um, but with that too, there's also a false ascension matrix, and tying that back into the great awakening, um, we have been programmed to believe that there's going to be like a big solar flash. I don't know if you've heard of this, like a big solar flash that will come and just make you remember everything. And just attaching to that timeline and the good vibes only, it's like we take ourselves away from actually facing our shadow, the ancestral trauma that we really need to clear, our karma, our belief systems, all of the work that actually will carry us into the abundance that we really are seeking. And I also think too, this is where it ties into like manipulation within the law of attraction.
Mm.
So sitting within a space and just thinking that I want abundance, therefore I'm going to embody the frequency of abundance. And because I'm embodying that frequency, I'm going to pull in that abundance. It's going to come.
Mm.
When in reality, it's like that is the false ascension right there. That is a perfect example of that parallel. Um,
Ah,
yeah, you might be able to sit in that space and call in certain frequencies that are connected to whatever you're connecting with, but you're not actually doing the work to clear yourself from the lack, the scarcity that's actually blocking you from pulling in and sitting with and connecting to the abundance. Um, so
I
that was a big
see.
thing that I wanted to talk about today.
I love that. I'm so glad you brought it up. And I know that you and um, I mean, gosh, we most of our interactions, I believe, are just messages back and forth. So um, I maybe have shared this with you, but maybe not. When you're speaking and you're talking about all of these things, I see the flow of energy going through my body as I have been doing the work, because my limiting beliefs, and I can see where my limiting beliefs came from that were blocking that abundance. I could do all the chanting to Lakshmi, Saraswati, all of that to bring that in, but until I address those issues interlying that are blocking that flow of energy, yeah, they're going to be there. But am I opening myself to accepting that? You've got to do the healing before you can bring that light into you. And that's the way I see the flow, as far as how my process has been going with that.
Yeah. And I love that. That also reminds me too, it's like we came here to be human. We didn't come here to repress, the feelings and sensations that are connected to all of our human experiences. We came to love the human experience. And so
Right.
just attaching to the good vibes only, it's like, if you can think of somebody, I'm sure you can think of many people in your life or in past versions of your life in this life, where they just embody that very positive frequency. And it's honestly kind of triggering and it's very robotic like.
Hmm.
Um, and I just can't shake the fact that they really would embody more of that feeling that they're wanting to embody if they would allow themselves to ride the roller coaster of being the human. And I think that's what we were talking a little bit about earlier as well. It's like
It's
the roller
totally,
coaster is the
yeah.
magic ride. Like each soul has its own very specific roller coaster that if you allow and not compare yourself to other people's paths, but like legit navigate your own roller coaster, yeah, there's going to be the ups and downs, but like the ups will be coming back too. And so I think that like attaching too much to the positive can be a bad thing.
Absolutely. And when you say that, I think of a younger version of myself, actually, probably when I was about your age, where I very much moved through the world in that way, where my negative feelings were not received well. And I knew that. So I was trained you to be nice young ladies aren't impolite. Nice, they don't speak up for themselves. Like that very pipe down, Missy. Your opinion doesn't matter here. You're just here aesthetically vibe was what I thought I was supposed to be. And that is very much how I moved through the world and the things that I'm now trying to heal, because all feelings are valid, and the more you ignore those feelings that are making you uncomfortable or feel triggered, or just yeah, just any discomfort in your body, well, feelings are not permanent. They are temporary. So we can ignore those bad feelings and just shove them down. But eventually that shit's going to hit the fan and it's going to look ugly. So just addressing those feelings as they come up. Oh, I see you. Okay. What can I do to show you a little love today? But not letting that feeling take over, super important. Yeah.
Totally. And to just even go deeper on that too, it's like the feelings are connected to our humans' experiences. And so like when we're trying to just push the feeling away too quick, it's like there's something connected to the feeling that our human is actually desiring us to feel, or maybe not the human, but our soul.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that. I love that point right there that you made.
I mean, there's medicine in all of it. And oftentimes those more shadow side feelings, that's where your heavy hitting medicine is lying. So if there is patterns that are making you feel uncomfortable in your body or just like sad, depressed, angry, frustrated, whatever feelings that you maybe like, and speaking to our listeners, whatever, any feelings, or all of us, doesn't matter, whatever feelings that we're associating as negative, oftentimes those feelings are holding a ton of medicine and they're just going to keep cycling up until we do look at it honestly, openly, and give that feeling the attention and love that it needs. Giving
Yes.
ourselves the love that we need to move beyond it.
And yeah, I just want this to be known too to the people listening as well. I'm not, and we are not, we're not separated from this work. So like we also go through these experiences too, where it's like, oh man, I've been pushing off a feeling, and you don't really realize it until you're in quiet space and those feelings come up. And yeah, so we're sitting here talking about the medicine, but we're also learning to walk the walk and talk the talk. So it's not like we're just sitting here trying to blast you guys, but like we're also learning as we go too. Which also makes me want to, make a note to you guys, to anybody listening as well. Like all of this false ascension, the Great Awakening, all of these distortions that we're awakening into, a lot of them were pre-planned to help us awaken into them and to strengthen our consciousness, to strengthen our light. For if a lot of these distortions were not present, we would have a lot harder of a time discerning what is darkness, what are the shadows, what is ourselves, what's our shit, what's other people's shit. So it's like, as frustrating as it can be to be like, well, what are these good things in life? Are these really are these good pieces to my ascension timeline? I think it's just more important to just realize that we're discerning our own organic ascension timeline, and to realize that each lesson that you're picking up along the way, regardless if it's heavy or light, it is helping push you in a new direction, in the right, quote unquote, right direction. Shadows are real, entities are real. And the more we face this, the more we can transmute them. But the more we try to turn our back away from them and act like, they don't exist, the more that it's going to be standing there fucking with people over their heads, continuously messing with them. That's the visual I continuously get sometimes for like clients, is like when they're repressing the shadow work, they'll show me like a visual of them turning away from their shadow self, and like all of these forces behind them, like having tentacles and hands within their head, back. But then the second they start turning towards them, these forces kind of take a step back a little bit, and they're like, "Uh-oh, they recognize me." So yeah, it's a very interesting reality that we're awakening into.
It's so funny that as you speak, and it's just to me as validation of this uncanny connection between the two of us, even though we have never met in person. And it's just astounding how we did met or how our paths crossed. It's there's no explanation logically, but aside from being on this same frequency. But when you speak to that, I could see the visual before you said it. I could see exactly what you're seeing. And when before you said the little tendrils and or what did you tentacles, I saw those. I'm like, okay. Uh that to me just uncanny. Yeah.
And
I
it's
love that
beautiful
there's these
because
connections.
sometimes the entities I find are literally just the
Yeah.
client who, again, has not felt certain experiences, hasn't felt certain emotions, hasn't processed things deeply. Sometimes, yes, they are negative soul groups that are not them, that are, very reptilian, Satan-like, antichrist, really. But
Yeah,
even those two, you can say, are also connected to the soul who's just trying to push love away.
that's it.
So it's very interesting.
Yeah. And that is really it. It's um, not allowing yourself or feeling that there's something wrong or bad about really facing head on these feelings that are perceived as negative. But all
Yeah,
feelings are just are feelings. They are all a part of the human experience. All of it. Um,
totally.
yeah, including the fear to actually look at those things. So, but man, it is a world of difference once you learn how to look at those things. And I truly believe that we are both people that are meant to talk about these things and talk about them openly and freely, taking away any stigma or shame associated with this stuff and this type of work, because we are in a time that our world has not seen
Mhm.
before. And this ascension, like, you can turn away from your feelings and you can live in denial, but you real how long do we you can't really fight evolution. Humanity's evolving.
Right.
It's gonna blow up some point.
I've also started coming into this energy too, where it's like people who are still very plugged into the matrix
Mhm.
are very scared. Like I'm also coming into this energy too, where it's like they're fearful of, what is true, what is false, what are spirits, and trying to start deciphering all of this new information, I think is also like just overload central for a lot of people. And so for those people, if you're listening to this, that you feel overloaded and you feel confused, try to find just one or two, people that you really trust within the spiritual community, and start working with them to see if they can help you start clearing more of your own shit, more of the distortion, to help, bring you into more of your soul path. Because that's something I can't shake, even just talking on this podcast too. Is like we're talking about a lot of tough topics, but also some of these tough topics may not necessarily be ready to be deciphered by everyone because some people are still very, very scared. And
Yeah,
just like while we're trying to talk about honoring the feelings are important, some people still are just, they're so scared to feel the fear because it's like, this is too much.
yeah.
So for those people, if you're, listening to this podcast, you're clearly on a path of spirituality. We encourage you to seek a couple people that you can work with, maybe one-on-one, to help work with you to start identifying to help clear some of your distortion. Because I don't know about you, Jennifer, but like the most transformational work that has came forward for me in this psychic intuitive work, has been the work that has been catalyzed working with another person. So not just, yeah, of course, dropping into my meditations, connecting to my guides every day. Like I'm now doing a lot of work that I don't need another person to help me hold space for. But at first, to help me get there, like that one-on-one work was tremendous. I probably would say I wouldn't be here today without it.
I agree. Wholeheartedly agree. And to anyone listening, I would like to share that we did an Akashic record reading together, and I felt things clarify and clear up with you on a level. I'd had an Akashic reading done before, but there were things that you helped me clear that I recognized I wasn't ready for
Mm.
previously. And then and we're all constantly growing, shifting, changing. Maybe something isn't going to be right for you in that moment, but you never know. Maybe down the road it might be something that does call to you. Um, but we are all here to help each other. And so those times when it would serve to have somebody else to hold space for you, to hold your hand, to get over this next little hill of your journey, just we're all helping each other. So like you had mentioned, somebody may come to you for you specifically to hold space for them, but you never know what learning you're going to get from that experience as well. We're all just growing together. It's Yeah.
That's a beautiful point to make too. It's like I will say within every single read, it's not necessarily that yeah, you could absolutely say like we are just like I was saying earlier, we are reflectors within many of the readings. Like, yeah, I'm holding space for them and I'm sharing, the guides are sharing a message for them. But in a weird parallel, it's like, oh shit, like that message that just connected to something they needed to hear was a message that I needed to hear like 2 days ago or something like that. It was, very interesting stuff like that. Um, And two, while we're talking about the false ascension stuff, like if you're new into this world and feeling confused and you're seeking, work with one-on-one people, please discern, like, of course, because just as we, me and Jennifer are learning to discern distortion on deeper levels, a lot of other readers are also learning to, discern distortion too. And I'm not trying to say there are readers out there that don't like to look and clear their own distortion, but honestly, there are readers out there that, do enforce like a little bit of manipulation. So really just encouraging to find a trusted person that you feel in alignment with within your own energy field, rather than just finding one person who's available to work with and just, saying yes just because they're available. I had a
Good
friend,
point.
and this is going to be a kind of a touchy subject, but I had a friend last summer reach out to me. She's pregnant, and she had told me, she was just like, hey, actually, no, my sister's wife reached out to me saying her friend is pregnant. And she had gotten like a $2 reading on Etsy for
Oh,
this person to read the gender of the baby. Yeah, you're getting weird vibes. To read the spirit of the baby, to give her all these messages, blah, 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 blah. And I guess she didn't like, she got it, and it was a lot of information for $2. But then she had Katie, my sister's wife, ask me if I could read for her for free to dive in deeper into the spirit of the baby. So, a couple things here, learning lessons. I said no to doing the work for free. That's a boundary after she just
I was
paid somebody else to do it. Like,
curious what your response to that, and just like an understanding of what the energetic exchange is behind the work we do. So I'm really glad you spoke to that. Thank you.
but then I also pointed out too, I'm like, $2 for a reading, never do that again. That's
Yeah,
insane that you did that.
it's kind of the
Um,
same.
yeah.
Like with you not honoring yourself, like, or not that you obviously did, but to say, oh, sure, I'll do this for free. Um,
Exactly, exactly, exactly. And so this is, I'm not saying this to blow out this person's, drama or, stuff. I think she had the baby. It's a girl. It's a beautiful, beautiful child, or it's going to be a beautiful child. But the message of that, just like you said, it's like discerning, if you're going to pay somebody $2 to read into your energy, that's very dangerous. They're investing $2 worth of their time, their energy, their space to look into you and your world. Like that is just completely out of alignment. Honestly, I would not hold space. I wouldn't have space held for me at this point anything less than like 65, 70, $80. And that's not just to pay a lot of money, it's for the investment that's going into the space being held for you.
yeah,
Uh,
it's the energy behind the transaction. That's
yeah,
really like for myself, it helps a lot to think of money as energy. That's been helping me a lot with my wounds as far as like denying myself, just feeling like I'm not valued enough to have that. It's like, oh, once we see it's just energy. But that being said, if there is not an equal exchange of energy, it's really problematic. Uh,
yeah.
yeah.
And then that ties into some of our soul work and boundaries. If we're calling in these things, which very much a lot of the time on a subconscious level we are, to
Mhm.
clear and learn from them, but we have to be aware that we are calling them in to clear them. And I've continuously lately, this past winter, have been having to clear some of that. Like, for instance, the sliding scale and like discounting readings for people, I'm having to put a hard pass on that now. Like, and it all in the past came from a place of love, wanting to allow the work to be received by people who can't afford it. But now at this point, I've come into a new territory where I want to align with the people who already are so sure and they know of the investment. They know that this is the work that they need. So it's a different, and I've had a few clients like that already. And it's just, it feels different when I'm working with them versus when I'm working with somebody who's like, hey, can you read for an hour for me for this price? I can't pay $125 an hour. And even though it's of service to them, it just feels so different working with people who know that the investments, even if they're hard to, sometimes when I buy hour-long sessions with my reads, I'm not buying them. It's not easy to pay for them. It's still kind of like, I gotta let this go because I need this reading, It's not like I have all of the money in the world, take it. It's like, no, it's like a real energy you've got to work with. But that's also been a lesson for me too. It's just like learning to let it go and trusting that the letting of it go is what I need to do to call in more and to learn more.
Yeah. And trusting that when you are with honor giving those funds, whether you perceive that, this is irresponsible or whatever financially, trusting that that will come find its way back to you. You will have what you need. You will be taken care of. That like letting go of that scarcity nature of it. I love that you spoke to that. I
Yeah.
really want to hear more about the false ascension. I have like in my mind what that looks like. And it's interesting to me when you speak, I get a very clear visual in my third eye of what you're speaking to.
Mhm.
Um, and this in particular, there's certain people in my life, when you speak to that, I'm getting shown examples of what that is. And I'm going, oh, okay. People who um, on the outside are doing the work, but I don't want to be, I certainly don't want to speak from a place where I'm certainly not speaking from any place of judgment. I want to just put it clear and plain out there. Not that if you're listening to this podcast, I've revealed all my dirty laundry. There is no holds barred here. I am no one to judge, but I can see where there are people who are putting on this show a bit that I am woke, I'm doing all the things, but on the inside they're still suffering and hurting, not doing the work internally, more like out.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to speak to that, and I
You
feel like you
taught
have a better definition of what that is.
I'm open to giving, I'm happy to give my sacred judgment on this. I feel like kind of a little bit of the energy that I was picking up on when you were speaking it, yes, connected to false ascension matrix, but it also feels like they're just stuck in their own wounds more than what I'm about to talk in about the false ascension matrix.
Okay,
Uh,
perfect.
in regard to the false ascension matrix, it's like more think like pre-Earth, like before this timeline that we're on now. Think like beings and entities trying to manipulate the future through the past by creating instructions of what the Great Awakening is, by creating panels of all of these different beings of who are good, who are bad, instilling information about, grays that are good. It's like, if you can think of like, I get a visual too. It's like humans being on the earth, being manipulated through entities, but also like, so that's one parallel that, and they're being controlled through a false ascension matrix. But on another parallel too, like a lot of the stuff that is on earth now that was seeded as divine consciousness, there is a lot of seeded divine consciousness. Don't get me wrong, but some of the information regarding like the solar flash, the Great Awakening that was planted in our timeline was seeded
Yeah,
by beings connected to the false ascension matrix. And so it's just some of that information that a lot of humanity is awakening into. They're going to have to discern that of, the real work and the false ascension matrix of, oh my gosh, we're not alone. All of this, just, it's like, basically it turns you away from the inner work. It's like you either go this way and just turn your head up. That's the false ascension matrix. And you don't really go anywhere. It's just like a straight line, or you
hmm,
face yourself and you evolve and you continuously spiral up. Um, it also reminds me too of like, I might not speak on this perfectly, of course, but like back in the 70s and 80s, just different generations as we awaken into the problems of that generation and we create solutions, and the solutions feel like they're gonna literally solve all of the problems and we're never gonna have those problems again. It's like that we're in an energy of that now, but instead of the 70s and 80s kind of being like the hippie era where it's just all peace and love and that's gonna, unify everything. Now we're in this energy where it's like the resolution is to remember that we're not alone and that you can attract anything that you desire through the law of attraction, and that like attracts like, and that, abundance is abundance. Um, that is another piece of the equation that's like we're trying to awaken into to do the real work to actually get the abundance.
right.
Am I
They go
speaking
hand
on
in
it?
hand.
Making
You've
a
got to
little
do
bit?
the work
Yeah.
to open up that. But yeah,
And it
Didn't mean to
speaks
cut
on
you off. Keep
too
going.
what you're saying as well about some people who are holding statuses who are putting on a show. Because we got to be like, there. Do you know the channeler like Bashar?
I believe I do, because the
Anka
name is
channels the
pinging.
entity. Daryl Anka. He has like 30 or 40,000 followers, maybe even larger. But my guides have made it very clear over the past couple years that this entity that he's channeling, Bashar, is not one entity, but it's like a mix of three or four, and it's not what he's telling all of these people it is. And so there are guides like
Oh,
that who are also channeling these beings, trying to help people awaken, quote unquote, but they're not really quote unquote helping people awaken.
I
They're
see.
connected to a complete false timeline. In a
I
perfect way
see.
to explain a little bit about Daryl Anka is my guides were like, Chase, when you are channeling, the Arcturians or channeling your guides in general, we ask you to be in a very neutral, a complete neutral state. Like you're calm, collected, resolute. There's no fluctuation in your energy. You don't go like this. You don't talk like this. And if you go to
Yes.
Daryl Anka's page and listen to Bashar's entities channelings, he's like talking loud and he's talking really quiet. And it's like
Oh,
scares you. It's like, what is
interesting.
this frequency?
I
And so
love
that's
that you
just
can pick up on that. I
yeah.
often, like part of my process before I do anything, and of course, like I told you before, Radiant Spirit began as guided meditations, and my beginning process looks the same. I call in all of my guides. I do my same thing, like just cleansing my space and whatnot. Um, and a lot of my information, as far as what you're talking about, as far as like the galactic intervention, if you will, or seeds that have been planted here, I get that information through Lee Harris, who channels the Z's, which are 88 different spirits or entities that he is channeling through. And in the same sense that I can hear with his, I'd love to hear your take on that too. But
I
I
love it.
love that it is very there is, it's almost like the same as if I'm talking to my trees, where there is no ego. There's no, it's such a non-human and not a lot of voice fluctuation. It's very, you can tell the shift in when Lee Harris is speaking as himself or when he's channeling. It's very clear. And when I'm listening to my recordings, I can tell when I've dropped into a place of being channeled. I'm like, that doesn't even sound like me. It's no fluctuation. It's straightforward. There's no bullshit. Um, and no cursing. That's how you know it's not me. But I'm curious, are you familiar with Lee Harris and the work he's doing?
I am. And in fact, I subscribed to him for almost 2 years. And I got a similar intuitive message from my guides to detach a bit from him.
Ah,
Please don't take any of what I'm saying like in a harsh way or anything, but yeah, I got a message to detach from the Greys just entirely and everybody that the Greys were connected to. And
now
for the
please tell me more about this, because I'm pretty new to understanding, like when you speak of the Greys specifically. Yeah, toddler information when it comes to that. So yeah, please, if I hate the term dumbing it down, but if you would for the sake of me, I'd appreciate it.
Well, so when we talk about the galactics, like this is a very, very big, very broad topic. And so I want to make it clear, I'm not an expert on anything I'm about to say. But so to start off with this, it's like, I'm I'm redoing a little ebook. It's going to be free. I recommend anybody read it if you have liked this podcast so far. It's called Energy and Spirit Codes.
Ooh,
But where I'm talking a little bit about all of these different topics. And one of the topics is where humanity is a golden egg. We are being protected by so many different races of species, different humanoid species, um, who want us to succeed. Honestly, you could say more than a lot of humanity wants their own selves to succeed.
mhm.
And by more than the dark forces, are wanting to hold us back. Like we have support. However, as I've been clearing my own contracts, my own negative soul contracts and connections to these negative soul groups, which I had connections to the Greys that were distorted.
Mhm.
I have just found for pure sakes and purposes of the humanoid beings that are my galactic guides, who are embodying the angelic frequencies of unconditional love and who never separated from source. Um, it just my guy I just it made sense to me and my guides to work with them, because I found myself at a point where I didn't need the off connection of the grays anymore. I didn't they There was always something off of, they were like, well, we can give you this cool channeled information if you do this, or we can do this
Oh,
for you if you do this. It's like I didn't want the transactional stuff, when my guides were like, we'll just give you all of this. They heal me every day. They do all the most magical work on me every day. The grays didn't do that shit. They distorted me. They messed with electronics. I could create, honestly, talk to you on a whole nother episode just about why I think more people should detach from the grays, even if there
I
are some
mean,
grays that help humanity.
I would freaking love that because when you speak to technology, I um I have so many issues with technology. So like being that this was a channeled message that I was to do this podcast, I was even my tree or whatever information came through while I was at my tree was to get on TikTok and I was like, "Oh hell no, you got to be kidding me." But it is bringing new connections into my life that I would have before been like, "No, that is not for me." But I am historically creating things with technology that happen when I walk in a room that it will give error messages like no one has ever seen before. Things just stop working. And I know that there are some people that just are a frequency that doesn't match with that, but I'm curious to know what your take on that is. Is that like a gray attachment? Is that or could it be something completely different? I don't know.
It could be a lot of things I'm feeling, but like for instance, in regard to the electronics thing, maybe this will give you a little bit different of an insight of how they were kind of playing with me. They were trying to empower me by like they were trying to make me play God, if you will. Like they would come in and they would flicker a light on my lamp and they'd be like, tell us to flicker it again. And so I'd be like, all right, flicker it. And then they'd flicker it. And it would fire me up because I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's a spirit that's flickering this light, and on command, literally. But after I had to discern and do the work, that's when I discovered that these were the grays and that it was very dirty. They smell bad. Like even when I dropped into meditation to clear them sometimes, like from the past year and a half, they'd fucking smell. Sorry to excuse my language. They smell bad. They're gross. I had to clear a couple artificial entities for myself as well that were like another version of the grays, but were even less like connected to source. That Just complete disrespect for humanity's space and their personal privacy is just gross. I could again talk on and on and on about it, but
Oh,
for
I
the sake
want to.
of people who don't really
I want to
get
keep a look on the time for this episode, but oh my God, I would love to dive into that deeper
yeah.
with you. Yeah, I
I'm
love.
not saying I'm sure I believe there are some grays out there that have helped humans. But just this is my story of detaching from them and encouraging other people. Like if you're seeking to embody more unconditional love, you're not going to do it through the grace. You're going to do it through your other unconditionally loving guides. They won't get you there. They will distort you and make it seem like you're getting there, but it will be artificial and it won't feel the same. It won't
Yeah,
be just like I mean, I can feel your frequency when we're talking. It's like it feels soft. It's like when you embody a connection to the grays, even if you don't know you're embodying that connection, you're not going to be in that loving, true, harmoniously healing frequency. Because when you are in that frequency connected to your galactic guides, your loving guides, your organic ascension team, um, your frequency naturally is innately healing to your auric fields, to other people, to the earth. So that's also why I think it's important more people work to connect to their organic ascension team and clear connections to negative soul groups to clear the karma, so that they can be healing, to heal their physical body, heal their mind, their spirits, help support the earth's organic ascension, other people's ascension. Like the work that we do doesn't just help ourselves, it helps so many other people.
that's so true. Yeah, and the more we do that internal work, and just by being as genuine to ourselves and our heart that we possibly can be, we're shining that out in the world. We're reflecting it out. And who knows who is taking little snippets of whatever we're saying or whatever we're shining out into the world and using that to help themselves. That's what
Yeah,
we're here for. We're all just mirrors of each other as we go through this process. So doing that internal work and just showing up to be your best self every day. That's it. That's
absolutely.
it. And I love more when you were talking about the grays. I'm seeing certain things and I'm being shown certain things in the influx of the voice when, say, Lee Harris is channeling the Z's. And I'm hearing over here, that's not what you're channeling. You know very much. It's different. And I've never had anything with a bad smell or anything like that. But now I'm like, oh, okay. I know what to watch out for. Uh
Yeah. Maybe
yeah.
ask to smell something, ask to smell, and maybe you'll be able to give you something.
I mean,
But that's
always
another
ask and you
thing.
shall receive. Always.
Um, just another thing about the grays, and this will also connect to information that should help people here on this plane too. Any manipulation, whether conscious or unconscious, can be a form of black magic.
Mhm.
I think some people think black magic is just, somebody who's sitting in meditation and declaring a spell over somebody. But in reality, like any black magic can manifest as any form of manipulation, conscious or unconscious.
Yeah.
It does not, you don't have to realize that you're creating black magic to create black magic.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you spoke to that. For myself, uh, when I became aware of the power behind your words,
Yeah.
whoa, whoa, game changer. Because when you speak to black magic, words are powerful. If you are talking shit, that energy, that vibration carries. And I don't know if that's necessarily what you're speaking to. That's kind of what I'm seeing when you speak to that. Um, about the different person that I used to be. And I have to wonder how much unnecessary energy like that I was putting out in the world just because I wasn't able to look at myself honestly and do the work inside. So it was coming out like, bleh. And how much damage or I mean, I don't want to put negative. It's all energy. We're all energy. We're all working through these things constantly. So I'm not trying to like shame myself or anybody
Totally.
else in that position, but I definitely lived my life that way where that was my first go-to is I'm going to shit talk. And that to me is a form of magic and not the good kind.
It is. And two, same with black magic. You don't have to speak it to create it. So like
Yeah.
you can also black magic can be created off of your own inner feelings. Or for instance, I can give you like a personal example. I'm currently navigating switching a job to make some more money, going back to find a serving job.
Oh,
And
okay.
at my current tumbling position where I'm a coach, like my boss knows I need to leave, but like there's manipulation, unconscious manipulation, maybe a little conscious too. She's not speaking any words, but it's casting black magic that I'm continuously having to clear when I go to work.
I see.
Um, another version of it too, last year, I hope my sister doesn't listen to this because it's going to involve a little bit about her, but I was also discerning clearing more black magic from my family. And my guides had shown me that my sister has been or had been placing unconscious and conscious black magic on me just through beliefs, not through words, not through saying Chase is bad, but through the shadow, through
Mm,
I feel like it was some like very shadow form of jealousy when she had nothing, she has no reason to be jealous of my life. Just different. I'm just trying to bring awareness to black magic. You don't have to speak it to create it. It can be created very from just a feeling, or
yeah.
being jealous of somebody, not wanting somebody to succeed, not wanting somebody to have success, being jealous of somebody's success. Like all of that is black magic.
It is. And that's interesting because when I came to you for an Akashic record, I do you also just have the one sibling, one sister? Yeah, I have one brother. And that was the intent behind our reading was for me to understand what is this lesson? What because two people couldn't clash more in the world. And again, that black magic and I fully know it goes both ways between the two of us. And it's gotten intense, and to a point that it has created a lot of trauma and a lot of turbulence in our family. And uh, since our reading, it led me to getting another reading, and it was our two birth charts overlapped so that I could take ownership of what is my bullshit in this? What do I need to own in this so that I can heal myself? And at this point, it kind of, I'm not going to lie, and I doubt my family listens to this at all, but I kind of feel like the asshole of my family because I've had to set that boundary and say, okay, I can't change how you're behaving or how you feel about me or whatever, but I am trying to come to this place where I can love unconditionally. And when I am separated and there's a lot of distance there, I can pick up those memories and I can be like, oh, yeah, that was great. And I can find those feelings of love and associate that there. But the closer I get to that energetic field or in the same room or whatever, it becomes harder and harder to remember what
Mm,
I love about this relationship. It becomes almost impossible. And yeah, it seems that it was doing more harm than good. So I had to just step away. And that's
mm.
where I'm at right now. But you know what?
I'm
I
a full
feel good.
believer that, yeah, when that's very, very good. And I'm also a firm believer in that too. Like that relationship's not done. Like I don't believe you're meant to still unite and harmonize more.
Mhm.
I get the message maybe like tune into meditative state, and this is just for me to you off record, but
Love it.
ask the guides to maybe clear to see if you can clear some karma that has been inflicted between you and brother. I feel like there's energy that can be cleared from meditation that can affect how the external relationship manifests.
Ah,
I feel like you might be able to do some meditation, work with the guides, clearing, purging, that might create a different response via the relationship. That's how I found it's created a shift in some of the relationships that I'm having, but that's the message that I'm getting that
I
would.
love it. On top of that, I'm hearing plant medicine. And I'm like,
Mm.
oh, which is funny because that came up on an episode that I just recorded the other day or that aired on Tuesday. And I went, oh, I've never really worked with plant medicine, but it'll let me know when it's ready for me.
That's amazing. Divine timing, always divine timing.
I love it. I'm so glad we're talking about it. Yeah, I love that. And yeah, and it has helped me so far just with the window into that you opened in our time together for me where I went, "Oh, okay, I need to get off my damn high horse and take a closer look at what my responsibility in this is because it takes two to tango, right? I can cast blame all day long, but we're both in this dance together." So, that was very eye-opening for me and is what led down to more work and yeah, it's the interactions, even though like for Thanksgiving, the holiday, our whole family, all of us, oh my God, we all went to Maui. We stayed in the same house, my parents, my brother, all of his kids, everybody. And I was mentally prepared to just be like, okay, I am going to have to stay in my breath work all damn day. I don't care what it takes. I'm going to do this because, well, who doesn't want a trip to Maui? And I really wanted to spend time with my nieces and nephews and all that. So, so I was fully prepared. And just I could tell in myself the growth that I had done from the last time we had spent a significant amount of time together was apparent, where I didn't get as easily triggered. There were moments, but it wasn't like anything I couldn't just walk away from, do some breath work, and come back to the space feeling refreshed, which was very unlike previous behavior with my family. That was not how I could react before. So, yay to growth. And
Absolutely.
thank you for helping me unlock that because that had been eating me up for a very long time, years. Um, yeah, so thank you.
Of course, I think, and it's important too to realize like the work that we're doing, we're helping create the boundaries that we're setting for family members. We're helping them create space to potentially offer them the opportunity to then work through their shit too.
Right.
We really are healing relationships on such a deeper level with the work that we're doing. And I think we should give ourselves more credit for that.
We should. Thank you for saying that because it's not easy
No,
to do that internal work. No matter
evolution's
what
not,
people think on the outside, it's
it's
rough,
absolutely,
man.
and it feels good too. Like when you get in those nooks and crannies of, when you're in the family situations where it's like, holy shit, we're getting along. Like this wouldn't have happened 2 years ago or something like that. That's the perfect reflection of the work working.
Yes.
And to not give up, to keep going, because it's just going to continue evolving.
Yes.
My relationships with my family, if I'm not going to talk about the specifics of, my dark, 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 dark past, because it's too much to talk about. But I have the most fucked up relationships with every member of my family, family. Now I feel like I have the most beautiful, awesome relationships with every single member of my family. Still working some like things out with my dad, but like it's so harmonious. It's just still working to more of that, opening up to more of that love. It's like when we're hanging out together, it's like I feel like we both kind of feel like anxious. It's weird, but like everybody else in my family, it's like very different relationships from the work that has been integrated over the past 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years.
I love that. And it gives me so much hope because, I guess as far as the damage I was doing in my life, and of course, hurt people hurt people. So I am certainly owning up to my share of the static in any of my family relationships. And I've been just last week on the 11th, I celebrated 3.5 years sober. Yay! 111, that portal. I was like, yes, all right, get it. But yeah, thank you. And where I was, say, 4 years ago in my relationship with my family was really, really, really bad. And where I'm at now, there's still work to do, but it
Yeah.
is a world of difference and it's so much better. Like 4 years ago, if you had said, "Oh, go spend a week in Hawaii with my family," I would have said, "Hell no, absolutely not." Uh,
See,
so yay,
perfect
growth.
example. Yeah, that's a
Uh,
perfect example of the work working. And
yeah,
so
yeah,
I believe that this is the end of it, there's more results to see. So
there
yeah,
is.
amazing.
And we're constantly shifting, growing, healing. And as you've mentioned, like there is an ascension happening. So time on earth is it is speeding up. So things that the healing and say like the span of healing that you would see over a decade, 20 years ago, what we're seeing now that it's almost being like compressed into 2 or 3 years.
Absolutely.
We are healing quickly. We are changing quickly. We're evolving quickly. And really, overall, everyone is collectively going through their own shit. We are all getting more in touch with our heart center, a little
Mhm.
bit more as far as the human race is concerned. And so it looks different in everybody's lives, but we're all mirrors of each other. So it's kind of all reflecting on the collective as well. So, um, yeah, it's fucking beautiful. I love it.
For having me here today. It's been
Thank you
lovely.
for being here. Chase, oh my God, I can't believe how fast an hour has gone.
I
And
know.
there's so much information. I still would love to hear from you. So if you are down, I would love to have you again. Join us here,
Aw,
share
that
your
sounds
power, share
great.
your light.
I'd love to. I love chatting with you. I feel
You
like we can
too.
continue to, bring topics that can benefit, people that they might struggle looking at on their own. So I'm so here for that.
I love it. And again, God, I guess I can't get over the mirrors in us because when you talk about going to a serving job, I'm like, oh my God, this is my thing. Yes. It stands to reason we would have that in common too, of course. So, oh, I love that. I love that so much. I freaking love you, love what you're doing. And I know that you had mentioned that you were kind of taking a little bit of a break. If this is something that, I don't know if you're doing Akashic readings or any sort of readings still. Yeah.
I'm doing readings, healings, a little bit of one-on-one mentorship, very limited, but that is also, out there for people who are looking to embody the love within them, their psychic ability, their intuitive ability to connect with their guides, the galactics, to integrate the work, to clear the ancestral trauma, to clear the karma, to look at the shadow, all of it for the people that want the one-on-one support to take them farther. So I am just because I'm somebody who doesn't have a large following, I offer smaller space. I don't hold large containers, so it's just very intimate, small.
I love it. Those are my favorite. That's my favorite way, or my, yeah, my preferred method of doing the healing. I love it. And I will be, with your permission, including links to your website so that people can find you and reach out. Uh, yeah, I think that's about
In
it.
terms of my followers who are listening to this, Jennifer has the most wonderful herbal tinctures. Like, seriously, check her stuff out. They're amazing. So just
Thank
throwing that out.
you. Thank you for that plug. I'm actually working on a new one that's called Moon Drops for Women. It's just to regulate hormone levels for women.
Oh,
Uh,
beautiful.
it's been long in the works, but that's coming soon. And on that note, thanks for the plug. There will be a link to my website as well. So y'all can reach out, contact me about herbal stuff, Reiki healing, whatever. Yeah. I'll keep
I'm going
both
to be buying
links.
an anti-inflammatory tincture from you very, very soon. So this
Oh,
weekend,
yes.
I'll be contacting you. Just FYI.
Perfect. I got plenty.
It's like candy to me.
I'm so glad. Thanks so much for the plugs. God, I love you. You are
Love you.
rad. Ah, soul brother, thank you so much for your time and energy. I
Absolutely.
look forward to having you back.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Ah, you're the best. Mwah.
Bye
Blessings.
bye.
Until next time.